Welcome back to Xbox Corner, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at the latest batch of titles hitting Game Pass, all of which are available to play right now. Now this month has been quite a big one so far for Game Pass releases, and we've still got another 7 dropping before the month's out, but this also means we're going to be saying goodbye to a few more titles, which I'll be covering off at the end of this video. For now though, let's get into this week's roundup, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with our latest reviews, deals and Game Pass videos. So the first game on our list is Flynn, Son of Crimson, a handcrafted 2D action platformer from Humble Games, which follows the journey of Flynn and his doggo Dex as they attempt to stop the spread of the Scourge, an ancient evil which threatens to consume the island of Rusantica. Now if you're into your pixel platformers, this game is likely to be right up your alley. Alongside some solid platforming, you've got some engaging combat using a variety of weapons and magic, and the game features an overworld map similar to Shovel Knight's, whereas you gain new skills and abilities through harnessing the power of something called Crimson Energy. You're able to revisit levels to unlock alternative paths through them. Now I haven't actually played this game myself, but from what I've read the game offers a pretty easy ride, so it's perfect for those looking for a more casual platformer, though the game's hard mode could offer a little bit more of a challenge. All in all though, it looks like a decent little platformer, it's got some nice pixel art, and it'll no doubt have enough to keep you occupied for at least a few hours. So the next game on our list is I Am Fish, and it comes to us from Bossa Studios, the minds behind the Surgeon Simulator series of games. Now just like its predecessor, I Am Bread, I Am Fish is a physics-based adventure game, but instead of bread and bagels you'll be playing as a variety of fish, each with their own special abilities. The story with this one concerns a cast of 4 fishy friends, who after being forcibly separated from their home at a local pet shop make a break for freedom, embarking on a haphazard journey across country in the hopes of eventually reaching the open ocean and reuniting with one another. Now the game has a much larger world than I Am Bread, taking each of our fish on their own unique adventure across the quaint little county of Barnardshire in England, and once again you can expect physics-based platforming and puzzling, as well as some tricky control schemes to contend with, and if the control schemes in I Am Bread are anything to go by, these will likely add plenty of challenge and hilarity to the game. Now as well as the everyday dangers that life outside the fish tank pose, you've also got to take into account the fact that fish can't breathe out of water, and so you'll no doubt be doing plenty of flopping between makeshift fish bowls and whatever water source you happen to find along the way. Now if you've never actually played I Am Bread, then I highly recommend giving it a go, but I Am Fish looks set to be everything you've come to expect from the creators of Surgeon Simulator, and I for one can't wait to dive into this one. So next up we have Skatebird, a rather unusual skateboarding game in which the developers seem to have taken Tony Hawk's nickname Birdman quite literally, as the game sees you playing as a bird who skateboards. Just like the classic pro skater games, this one tries to simplify the art of skateboarding with a more arcadey approach to its control scheme, but instead of your classic skate parks, warehouses and airports, levels in Skatebird have a kind of Micro Machines vibe to them. Your avian skater rides around on a tiny fingerboard, and the level's half-pipes and rails are constructed out of magazines, electrical cables and a bunch of other everyday items. Now gameplay has all your standard skateboarding stuff going on with it, and you'll generally be completing various objectives and challenges to open up new levels, and hunting down collectibles such as mixtapes and new clothing to dress up your bird with. From what I've seen so far though, Skatebird has had mixed reviews, and the general consensus on this one is that the game feels a little unfinished and light on content, with the objectives having very little challenge to them, skating and performing tricks being a little rough around the edges, and there are some issues with the in-game camera and people getting stuck inside walls and corners. Still, if you're looking for a new skating game to tide you over until Skate 4 releases, Skatebird may hit the spot for you. Just don't expect to be playing with friends, as there's currently no multiplayer support whatsoever in the game. So our penultimate addition this week is Superliminal, a physics-based puzzle game which released back in July of last year, and alongside a game called Manifold Garden, it was one of my favourite puzzle games of 2019. Now, Superliminal is a first-person puzzle game whose main gimmick or gameplay mechanic focuses around the manipulation of your perspective on objects and of optical illusions. For instance, each time you pick up an object such as a toy cube or chess piece and then place it down in a new location, the scale of the object changes depending on your perspective of it. That's only the tip of the iceberg with this one though, and as you work your way through its puzzle-filled rooms, you'll discover that everything is not always as it seems, as you encounter portal-like doorways, brain-breaking optical illusions, and a whole host of well-hidden secrets. Aside from the puzzles though, I also found the game's narrative to be pretty enjoyable, as you guided through Dr. Pierce's dream therapy program, with the good doctor having somewhat of a GLaDOS-like sarcasm to his mannerisms. Now, I don't want to go into any more depth about the game, but if you're a fan of puzzle games, then I highly recommend you give Superliminal a go. Just be aware that some people may find the motion sickness triggered by a few of the game's more extreme optical illusions. So our final game in this roundup is Aragami 2, and I'll confess that I've never played the first Aragami, so I have nothing to compare this second entry against, but from what I've read, it's significantly different and it requires no prior knowledge of the first game. Now, Aragami 2 is a third-person stealth action game in which you play as one of the Aragami, a clan of elite warriors who have the ability to control the shadows, and its story sees you fighting back against an invading army and freeing your fellow Aragami that have been enslaved by the enemy forces. Gameplay in this one looks a lot of fun though, and it kind of reminds me of the classic Tenchu games, but with more of a focus on using your special abilities to remain undetected and strategically take down enemies. Known as shadow techniques, these grant you the ability to detect guard movement patterns, teleport to distant locations, and turn invisible, but unlike the first game where engaging in combat was to be avoided at all costs, this second outing apparently has a more fleshed out combat system, allowing you to take on guards more easily with parries, blocks and counter-attacks. Another noteworthy addition to this sequel is the inclusion of an online co-op mode, which means you can now undertake missions with up to 3 other players. Now, the original game was somewhat of a sleeper hit, but it's gained a solid following since its release, and fans of the series will no doubt be overjoyed to dive back into the world of Aragami, though they may find a completely different game awaiting them. So that just about does it for this week's roundup of Game Pass releases, but before I go I'll briefly cover off each of the games leaving Game Pass at the end of the month. Alex usually covers these in a separate leaving Game Pass video, but he's currently off gallivanting around the motherland, so here's a quick roundup to tide you over until he returns. So the first of the 5 games leaving Game Pass is Drake Hollow, a kind of action village building game which sees you defending a village of vegetable people against an invasion of feral beasties. The game offers a 4-player cooperative experience which has you exploring the world, rescuing villagers known as drakes, and gathering materials to rebuild their village while simultaneously fighting off the feral creatures which threaten it. Next up we have Ikenfell, a turn-based tactical RPG which follows a group of magical students as they explore the forbidden halls of their school. The unique spin on this one though is that the spells that your team uses in battle require no mana or MP to cast, and instead each of your abilities has its own timing to master, and these timing mechanics also apply when defending against enemy attacks. The third title departing at the end of the month is Night in the Woods, a story-driven exploration adventure game where you play as college dropout May Borowski. After returning home to the former mining town of Possum Springs, May seeks to reunite with her friends and resume where she left off, but she soon discovers that things aren't quite the same. Her friends have all changed, and there appears to be something strange happening in the local woods. Our next departure is a game called Cathy Rain, and this one is a PC-only point-and-click adventure title which follows the story of Cathy Rain, a journalist major investigating the mysterious death of her recently deceased grandfather. As she delves into the local mystery surrounding her hometown and follows the trail of clues left by her grandfather, she finds that the answers only lead to more questions, and the deeper she digs, the darker the truth becomes. The final game, which many will no doubt be sad to see leave Game Pass, is Warhammer Vermintide 2, a first-person action game which essentially combines the world of Warhammer with Left 4 Dead style 4-player co-op gameplay. This one is a real gem though, and it features some excellent melee-based combat, 5 different characters each with their own talent trees, and a ton of different weapons, trinkets and charms to collect and craft as you level up your character and take on increasingly difficult challenges. If you haven't yet played Vermintide 2, then I highly recommend you give it a go before the game drops off Game Pass on the 30th of September. And so that just about does it for this week's Game Pass video. I'll be back next week with another roundup, and Alex will be back off his holiday, so you can expect plenty of new content from the channel, including some brand new deals videos and reviews. As always, thanks once again for watching, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all our latest content, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone, take care.